in as regular people. Huh? But the truth is, though, is that they were privileged. There's some bougie people. They wasn't ready to do what we did. If we took you and put you back over there, right? Assuming that the purity of the air, right, would not just be a shock. You know, like some people that are blind and they get sight all of a sudden. Let's say you survive that, now you become like supercharged because the air is just dope. There's no pollution, right? Right? Let's say we replaced you and we did, we did an exchange student in time. And we took one of those Gaza. No, I said Gaza. No, not Gaza. Giza. They one of those Giza students and brought them over here. They wouldn't be here 2 hours though without getting dead, right? They start deteriorating, right? They'd be oppressed though. They would be like, they don't let me do anything here. You know what I'm saying? They're looking at we build and like, oh my goodness, you people live here? What is this? You know what I mean? This is not gonna last. This doesn't even last 1,000 years. You know what I'm saying? So I'm saying, like, we created ourselves for this time. We are built for this. You see? And they were built for that. You see? We are self-created. We created ourselves in these times. You just didn't know it. You see? You just didn't know it. And when you start to learn stuff, it's things that are dormant that are coming out. That is not your higher self emerging. That is just education. Right? Drawing out, like I said, drawing out that which is within. Right. That's it. It was already in there. You didn't draw out another self. You just got rid of the layers, right? It's always layers, right?
Layers.
I don't know. That's a class over. It's over. But it's just, right? It's all like those veils, those layers and veils of, right? Of just sin and ignorance and all these things. You know what I mean? And that's why I want you to look at it, because what I hate the most is any of us being students of all things and assuming that certain things are not us. Especially without trying it, though. Yeah. You know? We all know, all of us in this room know a long time ago that we weren't NBA bound. Not because we didn't grow, as I realized, but because we tried it. You know what I'm saying? We took jumpers. You know what I'm saying? We dribbled. We were like, nah, that's sham God, I can't do it. You know what I mean? All these things, right? I'm not dunking from the foul line. You know what I mean? All this I can't hit a free throw for my life. Whatever it was, right? I can't hit a ball. All these things, right? We know we can't sing. We tried that. But how many things have we really, really tried? What are we really capable of doing? We barely tried anything. I guarantee you that in some type of sport, there were times when we tried our hardest though till we got hurt, like we just broke down, just to see how good we could be. Now, how many of us had to spend, let's say, a week reading as many things as possible until you just crash out? Spend a day, like the way we do sports or do rapping, and read something as long as possible. See how long we could read. This book is 100 pages. I'm going to see if I can read 100 pages in a day. And just fall out, like at 30, wherever you're at, just fall out, pass out. Your head just explodes, like it throbs for the whole day. Whatever it is, right? What I'm saying is that we haven't even used the whole mind. That whole thing, you hear the thing, like you only use a certain percent of the mind? Yeah. There's no such thing. Because if somebody says you only use 10% of the mind, that means that someone out there knows how much is 100%. Mm-hmm. Find me the guy that knows that equation, and then we start building. Because that means that he obviously tapped into at least what is all of 100%. Right? So again, we tend to look at science and mathematics, but our insight into mathematics and the nature of how it's used has all been skewed. And like I said, the reason I gave that main thing is it's all in perspective of infinity. We have defined everything that is godly as things that are infinite forever. And like I quoted Maher Baba, God is a master of all realms, and that includes the finite. The finite. Master of all realms. There's only one living being that masters all the biological realms, speaks and understands and utilizes the language of the universe, mathematics, in a reality of the infinite mind, right? That can travel his thoughts through space and time, right? And is in a finite body. All realms. All realms. Right? The Catholic one, he's not in all realms. The typical Orthodox Islamic Allah, he ain't in most of the realms. He's in some outside box, wherever, he's not even in a box. He's somewhere in the unexplainable. Right?
So is one that be the five stages of consciousness right there though? You know what I mean? What you was talking about, what you describing, that was part of the 5 stages of consciousness though, God, you know what I mean? The infinite though, God, you know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah.
That's what it is though. Ain't nothing mysterious about that.
But also this finite body.
Indeed.
This is the detriment that the majority of people will say you're not God because you're in this body. But this is the proof that we're in all things. See? And people have always found the usefulness. What is the use of God? I made all this. What was it for? It's for me. It's for us. Right? And I'm responsible for all of it. Because we're creators in our own creation. Right? And these creations inspire us to create anew. End the cycle. Right? And for us though, because that makes us always students of ourselves and always what? Right? Expressors of ourselves. Right? Because there's only 2 things as a student you're doing. Of all life, there's only 2 things you're doing. I've always said this. You're only doing 2 things. You're either preparing or you're performing. So everything is either a performance of something you prepared or something is a preparation for that performance. When you reach, I don't want to say nirvana, or you reach a peak, or when you reach a level of certain things merge together. Where the preparation is performance. And they kind of unite together, right? And as a martial artist, right, that becomes a thing, right? You prepare to perform to kick ass. Then you don't want to kick ass. So now the preparation is the performance, right? Because you prepare so you don't have to kick ass. Namaste, right?
That's balance, huh?
Yeah. Right? So these questions, right, is how do we attack the mystery? The first thing I'll say, be a disrespectful student. Those are the best kind. Okay? That's why the babies are the greatest. They don't believe anything. They refuse to believe anything. They don't respect anything that is mandated down. It's like, this is the way it is. They're like, I don't know. You look a little corny, You're old, Right? They disrespect all things. See? Because respect is something that is earned, but often given, though, because of stature. So often we're not really respecting people. We often don't respect the right things, right? Shit, my most used hashtag is respect faith, right? People respect things that, that aren't necessarily validated, right? So how do we do that? You know what I mean? That's what being a student is. You see? So it's okay not to be at that finality of like, yo, I'm the God. Like you walked in around here and it's like everybody kept telling you, hey, true, like we talk to you like, hey, true living God, like, take your time. Think about this. Think about who you are. In this classroom, you're always welcome. Okay? This classroom, and there are some emails that I had to write a note. I wrote a note. Once you walked in, I was like, God damn it, I didn't send out the email of materials. But the tools of this classroom are entirely digital. Okay, this way I don't have to carry anything. It's really the main reason. But also, I could give you more stuff. Okay, So it comes with, you know, curriculum, things you can do. Everything is voluntarily. So if I give you the curriculum, nothing's due, right? You want it to be due. You do something, I suggest something and you do it, it's homework or not homework, only you benefit, right? Every assignment that I would give you, I already done it or I do it. So it's only to help you, okay? So how far you go in is how far you develop those personal questions, how much you exercise and do the works that I'm suggesting, right? So when I give you my email, I'll give it to you now, but it comes with a curriculum, also comes with a large digital library, okay? I take every book that I can, okay? So the library is over 1,000 books. So many of the books that to read that'll supplement a lot of these ideas come along with that, and a lot of plus lessons that we talk about that are written, things like that, right? So utilize that, okay? If your phone has Candy Crush, delete it now, okay? Shouldn't be using it for that. That's just messed up. Like, really, seriously, think about that. Right? But my email is sunez97@gmail.com. So SUNEZ97@gmail.com. Email me, harass me, right? If I forget, harass me.
You know, you just broadcast that over live.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
What am I gonna get? More bad music?
More bad music.
Yeah. SUNEZ. Not that. Z97.
Oh, bon God, though. All right, I see you.
gmail.com.
I like that.
When I first got announced, my name was Sunez Bonala.
Oh, wow.
Because I thought like I had to, you know, kind of work to be born. And after a while, I was like, I am the same guy.
So now
That's why sometimes Knowledge Me, who taught me,
You did.
he'll call me that.
Hmm.
He'll go Sunez Bonala because that was what, you know, I first.
So now it's the Son is God. Son is.
Yeah, son is Allah. Yeah.
Son is Allah.
See the ego. Ergo, the ego. There we go.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions about anything? Except you. Peace. What's the science? Hi. That's what's up.
They're the National Association of Black Journalism Awards.
Oh, that's what's up.
I don't want to interrupt the lessons.
No, it's all right. Yeah. I interrupt my own class all the time. Question. Yeah.
Peace.
Peace.
This man is an editor for The City. So you can check it out at thecity.com or
City.nyc.
thecity.nyc. You can see this man's work.
It's like a non-profit, local.
And who is this man?
This is Hassani Gittins.
Okay, now it's broadcast. I'm doing live now, so it's, you know, you're broadcasted live. YouTube.
Oh, nice. Peace to the world.
Peace.
He went to school with me in Sunez.
Yeah. Baruch.
The ticker newspaper.
Oh, this is embarrassing.
I literally have to go across the street to get my fiance right now.
I remember. Great seeing you, bro.
All right, peace. So yeah, if you could just build again real quickly, like the whole science of, like, you know, ego. You know, like, you need to talk about that's the supreme equality.
Yeah.
Like you know, like, you
I'm
know.
so egotistical that I totally forgot whatever I said before. So I will allow my ego to continue if I know what I'm talking about.
Right, because the ego holds everything together, as well as you don't want to get caught up in your ego.
Well, I think everything needs will to jumpstart. And everybody looks for outside inspiration, the way things ought to be, the way they should be, the way I wish they would be, right? Instead of just looking like, yo, I am, so I should do. And that is a bit of ego. So if you're the true and living God, it depends on a certain amount of ego that you should create because the world needs your creation. The world ought to have your creation. And that you should just create because that is your nature. So now you don't need any outside inspiration and you create. So it needs a certain level of ego. And that I had mentioned that polarity of humility, that the extremes of ego is egotistical without seeing the impact and responsibility you have to the world. But then also the other extreme is massive humility, where you don't see your gifts or the necessity of your worth, and so you undercut everything you're doing, right? And then that would lead to less inspiration, less works, less things, and less taking part in things. So both of those extremes can ruin things, you know? Having a proper humility means you can really judge and weigh your own self-development properly with enough, you know, being hard on yourself correctly, but also judging it, you know, realistically. You know what I mean? And that means that you're not rapping as good as,
So you're not a good rapper.
you're not.
You're not a good rapper, so you want to work on being a better
Yeah,
rapper.
exactly. You know what I mean? But yeah, like I think because of like the whole concept and all of the Freudian language, ego is always seen as like a negative thing. And then again, we get into the higher and lower self thing where we have to eliminate the lower self, which is ego, eliminate. But one of the problems I find though with many of the Eastern spiritualities is that they try to eliminate suffering. And so in many respects to myself, the way things, they try to eliminate humanity. You see? The nature of yourself. You see? We made ourselves this way. So I think it's wonderful that we are inspired by all of these things. I think it's wonderful that we have all of these emotions and that we feel all of these things. It's how we balance all these things. See, I've always agreed with Jiddu Krishnamurti because he says, you know, that you have to recognize certain things in you, right? And actually acknowledge them as opposed to assuming that they aren't there. So like, you know, the generic build is envy, greed, lust, and hate, and that they are things to eliminate. But if you don't take time to acknowledge that there is jealousy for certain things, then you're not really looking as to why that came about. Because these aren't things where you have eliminated them and then I no longer deal with jealousy. Everyone I deal with according. Oh, look, you've achieved all types of wealth based off things you didn't earn. I am not jealous. I'm not mad about it at all. Like, that's not really true because if we think of ethics and morals and integrity, these things would bother us, right? So the thing about it is that if we look at things in a natural way, right? And often a lot of the Eastern religions, especially Buddhism with the suffering, they're always trying to make a robot individual. You know, a roboticized individual. And then in that respect, humanity will just pour out. But that's not really how it works all the time. That's how it works if you pull yourself out of the guise of humanity itself. You see? That's not really what we're doing. You see? When we say that the original man is God, the original woman is the earth, we're not pulling ourselves outside of humanity and saying that we are your gods, we are your earths. You see? We are saying that all of humanity is supreme. And for some that don't even understand this knowledge and would love it to always stay 5%, like we're the 5%. That's like momentary title, you know, because if we did our job though, everybody would know eventually, right? If it's a fact, everybody's gonna know, you know? Like what we call ourselves, like, you know, the 100%, everybody knows their God, but not everybody's doing it, so, you know, you keep redefining who's doing what, and it's really based on what other people know and the levels of knowing, and I tell you, it's a real judgmental title, you know what I'm saying? Because everybody's you're always judging who it is, 5%. Well, no, he doesn't teach. He kind of blood sucks though. So, yeah, no, he's not 5%. So no, he's not this. It's a totally judgmental title. And in the future, everybody will know certain facts.
I seen a bill where God basically said that there will always be a 5%, always be an 85%, and always be a 10%, because the 5% job is to teach and to lead in the right direction. The 10%, there'll always be a 10% leading in the wrong direction, so those numbers will most likely always stay around the same area. How you feel about how you see that?
Well, if we say, again, mathematics works in patterns, so if we say that we'll stay in the same patterns, yeah, but you'd always be redefining. Because in 200 years from now, if we still exist as this nation and only a certain small percent know, and we suck, you know what I mean? Technically, what would really happen is that everyone would know. It would become factual knowledge. But then when we talk about not everybody would actualize it.
Yeah, how do you apply it now?
And then what happens, and the problem that I'm noting is once everybody knows, then everybody makes a decision, even if they accept it as fact, they make a decision whether to actualize that fact. Then we start getting into whoever is 5% is now a judgmental term. We are judging who is God. We're judging who is a 5%. So I just don't like the judgment of it. You know what I mean? And it's really religious though, because you are judging who's, I don't think that's.
So brother said on here, said, you said if
I
we
know,
exist.
I
You said if we exist.
tried to be blasphemous on
Yeah.
on live,
Yeah. So we will always exist.
We will always exist, though, for we are here. We have ordained you, the firstborn, and we have knighted you. There's too much DC Marvel Comics stuff and all this kind of stuff, and it's not really realistic. Different connotation. You know what I mean? And we talk about the negative aspects of ego. That takes away a lot of ego. So the thing that makes you a select few is really what's going to be the thing you trump up the most. You know what I mean? Or the pompous notion that you are the one that knows enough of the most important things that you will teach and be the ones to teach. Like I said, I've been teaching a long time though, and that is the worst way to teach anything. Because that keeps the teacher the most ignorant person. Okay? So I just don't like the pompousness of saying 5%. I always say nation of God's. I care about who we are. And if people find that limiting, it's only because they're going, well, what about those who aren't God, those who are on earth? But, everything's in that. You know what I mean? Because God and earth created everything and continues to create everything and is responsible for all things. So we don't have to mention lions, bears, tigers, peoples, right?
Hold up a second.
We don't have to do any of that stuff, right?
Keep like that going. Yeah.
So anyway, that's what I mean. Does that make sense? Or have I rambled the total hell?
All right, well, with that, I'm gonna say peace, because I'm about to be out of here. Peace, everybody watching.
Peace.
Peace.
What's what you want to talk
Peace
about?
of God. This is Sunez Class 11, 14, 19.
On the YouTube, the Law School of Mecca.
Okay,
Yeah. Law School Mecca YouTube channel. There's a whole bunch of stuff there, but this would be there as well.
Every time you record that, I say some blasphemous stuff.
Yeah, they always coming after you, man. They say the short Spanish guy, and we gotta go come get him.
We only like him doing
You're a Spanish guy. You're not a savior.
It's Cortez. It's Cortez.
There was one video though where they called me a Berber.
A Berber.
Oh, shit.
But they don't call you a savior Powasito. They never call you a savior Powasito.
Save power, I see. Yeah.
They don't call you that though.
Sometimes. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. We gotta make sure they're using the rights.
Yeah.
Savior loves universe rulers.
Somebody was saying it's a DX21. They said you don't think
DX21.
All right, that's enough. Peace.